Hey, what's up guys? This is Joe from Analog Archive back with another vinyl video. Today's video is going to be part 2 of my Rochester record store vinyl finds, along with some online finds that are kind of going back to mid-April. So we'll get right into it. I'm going to start with the online finds and then do the Rochester finds. So this one I got probably, like I said, probably mid to late April. This is Hank Mobley, No Room for Squares. This is original stereo on New York, USA labels. One of his best albums overall. A great partnership that he has with Lee Morgan. One of my favorites in my opinion. So yeah, just a great record. I know that there's a 75th anniversary pressing of this. There has been some even in like the 70s and obviously the Liberty pressings as well. But this one came out in 1964. And like I said, really, really solid material. One of the best Hank Mobley records. The next one is a big one. I showed this one off at the end of the compilation video that I did with Chris, Tunes from the Man Cave. Saxophone Colossus, Sonny Rollins. This is a second mono press, Bergenfield, New Jersey labels. Sounds unbelievable. I got a really good deal on Discogs from somebody that was selling it for a really good price. It sounds great, and it's just a classic album, one of the best. To most, it is considered the best Sonny Rollins album. I enjoy this one along with Work Time, which was one that he did prior to this. So this is 1957. This one came out. This one was from 1958, the second press of it. But just a really great record overall. Definitely one that I'd recommend. And because it is so popular, it has been pressed quite a bit, 60s, 70s, and onward. Next one was one that I was hoping to kind of hold out for, but it got to the point where I really just wanted it in my collection, and I found it for a good price from a seller that I had worked with before on Discogs. Leapin' and Lopin', Sonny Clark. This is a 83 Toshiba EMI pressing, stereo, but really sounds great. Definitely recommend the Japanese pressing, especially the ones in the 70s and 80s. Those are, for the most part, pretty solid. Obviously, just like all pressings, there are some that fall short, but this is definitely a strong one. Sounds great, and is one that will hold me over for a while. I had listened to this one prior to buying it again, and was really just holding out for either a King pressing, or even one that was earlier, like a Liberty, or even potentially original, but none of those really came up. One of the main reasons I like this one is I really enjoy Charlie Rouse on tenor sax. Really enjoy his work. It's hard to find albums with him on it because he really was not on a lot. What I have found, though, is the best way to find music from him is to go the direction of Thelonious Monk. A lot of the 60s stuff on Columbia. A lot of Columbia Thelonious Monk stuff has Charlie Rouse in it. He was kind of part of the quartet, or potentially the quintet groups for Monk. So definitely a great album, one that I recommend. Especially the Japanese pressings are great. This was one where this was on my want list for a while, and a seller on Instagram had kind of was looking to sell some records to finance a personal thing, and this was one of the ones that he had put up for sale. Dexter Calling, Dexter Gordon. This is an original mono on Blue Note, 4083. Really great one. I really enjoyed Dexter Gordon. This is one of my favorite albums of his. Kenny Drew on piano is another one that's really great. Paul Chambers on bass. I mean, you can't really get much better than that. And Philly Joe Jones on the drums. So real great quartet setting. This one sounds unbelievable. Definitely one that I recommend. Doesn't really show up a lot. And unfortunately, there was not many pressings of this. And again, I just kind of had gotten lucky and had followed, I guess, the right person on Instagram at the right time. So got it for a reasonable price, and it sounds great. This is another one that I found on Instagram, different seller, but one that probably many people have worked with before. He has quite a presence on eBay. It's kind of his main lane, but he also does sell on Discogs. This one was actually from eBay. This is Dig, Miles Davis, and Sonny Rollins. This is a second mono, again, Bergenfield, New Jersey labels. Original one came out in 1956. This is a 1958 repress. The music comes from a 1951 session and then was remastered by Van Gelder. But just, this is one of the cleanest copies of any jazz record I have. Really reasonable price. Again, this is another one that was on my want list for a bit. Just really, really clean cover back to front. A lot of the ones that I've bought from this seller has actually had shrink wrap on it. This wasn't one of them, but it does sound great. Main reason why I bought this, I'm looking more to get into some Miles Davis. I really love Sonny Rollins. He's one of my favorite tenor saxophone. Definitely up there. And yeah, one of my favorites. But the big reason was that it had Jackie McLean on it. This is the earliest session that he was on. Again, this came out in I believe it was 51. Might be 52. I believe it's 52 actually. 1952 is when the music was recorded. And he would have only been in his early 20s, maybe 21. And he sounds great. Obviously, he's not the same level that he is once the kind of going from the 50s, late 50s or into the early 60s, but he does sound great on this. And just a really great session. You can't get much better than Miles Davis on trumpet, Sonny Rollins on tenor sax, or Jackie McLean on alto sax. This is kind of the last one of the online. The reason I put quotes for this one is this was one that I had seen on an Instagram that was from a local record store, Bop Shop Records, that I talked about in the first Rochester Finds video a few of my videos ago. I found it, and he was just kind of flipping through the new stuff that he had, and this one caught my eye. Meet Oliver Nelson on the New Jazz, which is a subsidiary of Prestige. This came out in 1959, I believe. Yes, 1959. This is original mono. This is the deep groove version. There was also a non-deep groove. First Oliver Nelson record. He had a few records in the 60s on Impulse. But this was his first recording on New Jazz, again, the subsidiary of Prestige. He's on tenor sax. Kenny Dorham on trumpet, just unbelievable, real underrated trumpet player. Ray Bryan on piano, great piano player. Wendell Marshall on bass, and then the unbelievable Art Taylor on the drums. Most of the compositions were Oliver Nelson. I believe there's only one or two of the 6 songs that are on here that he didn't compose himself. Again, he was a big composer, especially as the 60s went on, but really great album, one that I recommend. Not too expensive, but it is a really great album. Sounds great. And then we get into, oh, actually, no, I have one more. Sorry, take that back. That was the last of the 12-inch. I've said before, I do plan on doing a video on my 7-inch collection because I do feel that 7 inches are worth collecting, even though some people don't agree with that. Found this one on eBay. I am looking for the 12-inch version of this, but the 45 will do for right now. So this is Lights Out, Jackie McLean. Part 1 is on the A side, and then Part 2 is on the B side. So this has Jackie McLean on alto sax, Donald Byrd on trumpet, Elmo Hope on piano, Doug Watkins on bass, Art Taylor on the drums. Unbelievable lineup as well. This was one of the first sessions that Jackie McLean was on. Again, that first session was Dig, Miles Davis in 52. This one was a 12-inch album. It's a black cover, really great artwork and a really great cover overall. This is from 56 and really great. I found this for a reasonable price on eBay and it sounds great as well. So, all right, so those again were the online finds, and then I have a few that I have picked up from Rochester since the last video. Got some big ones. There's not real particular order of this, kind of the order of just I got when I got them. This is Little Johnny C, Johnny Coles. This is from 1963. I believe it was recorded 63 and then actually not released until 64. Again, this is Johnny Coles. This is actually the only album that he's a leader on for Blue Note. He's on trumpet, Leo Wright, alto sax and flute, Joe Henderson, a real up-and-coming musician at the time, on tenor sax, Duke Pearson, the great composer, great piano player, Bob Crenshaw on bass, another real great bass player, and then on the drums on the A side is Walter Perkins, and then Pete LaRocca is on the on the drums on the B side. Real great session. It sounds a little bit different than some other Blue Notes at the time. Still straight hard bop, but it does have a little bit, at times a little bit funkier of a sound. Really great album, I recommend. But yeah, really, really great one that I've recently found, and really glad to have picked it up. This one has an interesting story. If you follow me on Instagram, which I recommend because I do show off a lot of these records, it's _analog archive, all lowercase, all one kind of word. I talked about this one. This is Destination Out, Jackie McLean. When I went in to actually pick up Little Johnny C, Tom at the Bop Shop, the owner of the Bop Shop, had asked me if I had heard this album or I had this album. I said, yeah, I've heard it, but I didn't have the opportunity to pick it up. I never really saw it in store. And he said, he's like, oh, well, you've been coming in a lot. You've been buying a lot of stuff, really helping the business out, especially during the quarantine. And he actually just gave me this record. So this is a really, really solid record. Again, this is post Let Freedom Ring, so it's starting to get more into the avant-garde, kind of free jazz kind of movement. This one has a little bit more of that avant-garde sound that I really attribute to the fact that Bobby Hutcherson's on the vibes. I think the vibes just gives it this more kind of out there sound to it. But Gratian Moncure III is on trombone, Jackie McLean again is on alto sax, Bobby Hutcherson's on the vibes, Larry Ridley's on bass, and Roy Haynes is on the drums. This is an original mono, aside from some wear to the front, and then somebody wrote their name on the back. He did say the catch was that the opening song on the A side, Khalil the Prophet, there was a scratch in it that affected maybe 2 minutes or so of the song, 2.5 minutes. There was kind of a louder crackle or kind of pop noise to it, but he said other than that, it sounds great. Didn't really play with a lot of surface noise. When I got it home, I listened to it, and even that scratch wasn't a huge issue. It plays through really well, and really, really glad to have this in my collection. Again, if Tom, you're watching, thank you very much. I really do appreciate this gift. And yeah, just a really great album. I definitely recommend this. If you are into Jackie McLean, I'm trying to collect as much Jackie McLean as I can. I definitely recommend this album. It's really, really great. Next one is Dizzy Atmosphere, Dizzy Gillespie. This is a 1980s pressing on specialty. Really early Lee Morgan. This is one of the first Lee Morgan albums that he's on. I'm not positive the year. I believe this came out in 58. It's got an interesting kind of sound to it, at least in my opinion. It's not a hard bop really session. There are songs that kind of tempo picks up, but it's a little bit all over the place with it. It has almost like a big band sound at times. It's not that it's a bad thing, it's just a little bit different, but I do enjoy it, and was really glad to be able to pick that up as well. This is another one. This is kind of a little bit of a blind buy. First album on Argo for me. This is the Jazz Tet at Birdhouse. Art Farmer and Benny Golson were the ones that were attributed to the album. This is Art Farmer, and then Benny Golson with the glasses. This is original stereo on Argo. This is a live session that they did in 1960. It was recorded May 1961. I believe it was either released later that year, 61, or early 62. But it's another live album. Again, I've talked about in other videos that I really enjoy live albums. And this is definitely a great set. Great sound, real fast moving at times. Art Farmer, unbelievable trumpet player. One, again, that he was really big in the 50s. And then as the 60s went on, he didn't really have as many albums. And Benny Golson was someone that kind of appeared on and some he did have his own albums. He was obviously part of Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers when Monin was recorded. So in the late 50s, early 60s, he was part of Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. But great setup for both of them, and a real great recording of that. But yeah, just real great live session that was out actually. I believe it was Chicago. Excuse me, Chicago was where it was recorded. Birdhouse. And then the last one is the big one, most recent kind of find. One that I had seen before, kind of only saw it online, and then I did see it. Took me a few visits to the Bop Shop to kind of pick it up, and really glad that I did. This is introducing Lee Morgan. This is a original mono on Savoy, deep groove. Real great album overall. This is the first album that Lee Morgan recorded. This is the only album that he does for Savoy. Lee Morgan's on trumpet, Hank Mobley on tenor sax. I mean, Lee Morgan's great to begin with, but when you add Hank Mobley on that, that's even better. Hank Jones on the piano, another real great piano player. Doug Watkins, unbelievable bass player. Art Taylor on the drums. Many albums I talked about had Art Taylor on the drums. Really great session. I mean, you can't get better than some of these guys. This doesn't really have the sound of kind of 60s Lee Morgan Sidewinder, or even the one that I had shown at the beginning, No Room for Squares, Hank Mobley, but it does sound great. The artwork on the front is really great. This was actually a trumpet that Dizzy Gillespie had given to Lee Morgan. This was recorded, released 1956. When I listened to it, it sounded really great. And then right at the end of the A-side, the last maybe minute or so, there was a kind of loop, and the record was really disappointed because it sounded great. And I was able to kind of I used a toothpick and just was able to kind of lightly work in the grooves to kind of work some of that stuff out, and it plays through great now. Definitely recommend it. Fortunately, this was very difficult to find, but I was really glad to be able to find that. So those were a combination of online finds, again, spanning back from mid-April, along with some more albums that I've picked up in Rochester at the Bop Shop. So yeah, I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe, like, and put some comments in the comments section. And I will see you in the next vinyl video.